Hey, I'm Seth with Land the House. I'm building a 14 by 20 shed, and I have the footers, the base, and the trusses built, which means it's time to move on to the walls. In this video, I'm going to be building a 20-foot wall that is just straight across, no windows, no doors, just a basic wall. So stay tuned, let's jump right into it. Quick disclaimer, I'm not a professional, I'm just a homeowner with a YouTube channel, so keep that in mind as you're watching this series. It's just an entertainment value, not to be used as a how-to. The wall over here on this side of the shed is going to be just a straight wall that will be 8 foot tall. Now I'm going to be using regular 4x8 plywood, and then on top of that will be 4x8 hardy siding. And I want that hardy siding to come down about a ½ inch below the decking, and that means I'm going to have to cut my 2x4s down a little bit. So they come in 93 inch, and I'm actually going to cut them down to 91. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Cut all 16 of these down to that 91 inches. Okay, going to measure out 91 inches on this board. Right here, 91, and now I'm just going to cut that off. I'm going to use my speed square as a guide to keep this cut nice and flush. 15 more of those to go. Because I'm building this alone, I'm going to do two 10-foot sections. So I'm just going to kind of place my material out here at about the 16-inch mark before I get the top and bottom plate put in place here. For my top plate, I'm going to use a regular not treated board, and for the bottom I'm going to use a treated. I found with one of my other builds that sometimes I'd leave the door open, either snow would blow in or rain would blow in, and the bottom would get moisture up to it. So I'm going to use this treated board for the bottom. I'm going to make sure it is 10 foot. Looks like it's about a ½ inch over. I'm going to cut that off real quick, and we will begin building this wall. I've matched both boards up here. I'm going to lay the tape measure out, and I want to mark 16 inch on center all the way down. And I'm going to use my speed square so that I can get this positioned all the way across both boards. So here is 16 inch. If I take my speed square and run it back to 3/4 inch off of that line, I can then make my line all the way across. And then if I go to 3/4 inch on the other side, make my line. And that's where my 2x4 is going to go, in that position there. So I'm just going to continue down the line and make all of those marks so that my 2x4 will be consistent on both boards. Now that I have all my markings on the top and bottom plate, I'm going to set this into place here. Treated board goes down here on the bottom. Okay, and now I'm simply going to match up a 2x4 with the X's that I've drawn here. I've got to invest in one of those board stretchers. I cut this one right here at 90 instead of 91, so we will use that later for something else. I'm going to cut a new one at 91, and we will continue. Whenever I build like this, I prefer to use 3.5 inch screws, but some people have a problem with that, so I'm going to do one screw and one nail. It's a galvanized nail, so it should be fine with the treated lumber down at the bottom. And this is an exterior Torx head screw, so it is nice and strong for this kind of a job. Once I have it where I want it, I'm just going to screw this into place. And then I will come back with a nail on the top portion. There we go, and that should not go anywhere. Now that I have the top done, I'm going to move down here to the bottom, and it's just going to be the same exact thing, putting one screw, one nail in, as long as I make sure I line up everything here to match what the other end has got. So, same thing. That's what a lot of framing is, especially these just blank walls. There's the first 10-foot section. It is completed, so it's time to get this thing stood up into place. To make that a lot easier, I'm going to be pre-drilling some screws into the bottom here, and that way when I stand it up I can just zap those into place and keep it from falling over. Now, to prevent bugs from getting in here, I'm also going to be using some contractor adhesive, just a tube of liquid nails, and I'm just going to run a single bead of that along the edge here to hold it into place. 3 of these ought to be enough to get this to stay in place. If you hear a buzzing noise, I've got the drone up in the air. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this liquid nails out real quick, and we'll go ahead and stand this wall up. That went very well. Now I'm just going to go back and forth with nails and screws and get everything tightened down. Now, whenever I leave this overnight, I'm going to be installing a support piece over here on the side to keep it from blowing down if any good winds were to come up. Now that you've seen me build this one section of the wall, I'm going to go ahead and time lapse so you can watch the complete build of the other section start to finish. Here we go. that concludes the video on making the 20-foot wall that has no doors or windows. So it did not come quite to the edge, so I think I may have added a gap or two in my plywood, but we will make up with that whenever the sheathing goes over that. It'll be just fine. And everything else matched up quite nicely. I went ahead and put a few screws into the middle post here to make sure that was together and nice and flush. And so 8 foot from the top up here will come down to about a 1/2 inch below the treated board here into the plywood, and will give us some rain runoff away from any of the floor, which should be good. All right, now to make sure that this wall doesn't go anywhere for the next couple of days that I'm not going to be working, I'm going to just put a support board up. All right, that'll keep this side in place just nicely. And this completes the first wall here on the shed. It's nice to have this one done. I hopefully will be either doing a window wall or a door in the next build video. So be sure to hit the subscribe button and ring that notification bell so you'll be updated for the upcoming projects. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.